Well, Chicago's Inspector General just published an audit of the annual inspection and testing process of the Chicago Fire Department's Fire Prevention Bureau. In the audit, the agency found multiple issues with the Bureau. Here to tell us all about it is the Inspector General herself, Deborah Witzberg. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So what exactly did your audit find here with the Chicago Fire Department?
We found that CFD's Fire Prevention Bureau is failing to meet its obligations to conduct annual inspections for fire safety in buildings in Chicago.
So what exactly does that mean for the everyday person at home? Just how big of an issue is this?
Well, I think it's a big issue in a city that has a tragic history with fire. So the Fire Prevention Bureau is supposed to conduct annual inspections of a wide variety of kinds of buildings, the kinds of buildings that Chicagoans live and work in every day. And we found a number of problems. First, the fire department does not have a complete list of the buildings it's supposed to inspect. It doesn't even have its arms around kind of the whole universe of buildings that need these inspections. Of the buildings it does have in its database, it inspected only about 17% of those in the last year, which is a very small percentage.
It's a very small percentage. Yeah.
And something like half of the buildings in that database hadn't been inspected in the last 5 years. I think this is a critical safety risk, not only to members of the public, but to first responders as well.
What's been the response from the fire department after these findings?
Well, I should say first, I greatly admire the work and the bravery of the Chicago Fire Department and Chicago's firefighters. The response of the fire department to our audit, I think it would be fair to say, was to largely disagree with our findings and recommendations. The fire department does not believe that it is its own responsibility to identify all of the buildings that it needs to inspect, and it did not agree with many of our recommendations to improve processes and procedures.
Walk us through exactly how does this audit work? Are you talking to different owners of buildings? Are you interviewing the fire department? How does it actually work?
All of those things. So we reviewed many years worth of records, inspection records, fee collections, etc. We interviewed staff up and down the fire department chain of command, all kinds of those steps which go into our findings.
And you said only about 17% of the buildings that were supposed to be inspected were actually inspected. So what happens next and how does this get fixed?
Well, we made a series of recommendations to improve these operations, including better policies and procedures, better controls to make sure that the inspections are supposed to happen. The other thing we found is that when an inspection is conducted and if a building fails, there are not good controls in place to make sure that the fire department goes back and makes sure that those problems are corrected that led to the failed inspection. The city is also leaving money on the table when it comes to those re-inspections. We found that over $1 million had been uncollected in costs for those re-inspections.
What do you mean by leaving money on the table? Where is that money coming from?
So the code says that if the fire department has to go back out and conduct a re-inspection, it's supposed to charge $50 for that re-inspection. We found that many of those fees have been waived without a clear system in place for whose fees get waived and whose don't. And so we have sort of both of these problems. We have real safety risk to Chicagoans and to first responders. And in a time when we can ill afford to do so, the city is leaving money on the table.
Deborah, what's, I guess, the next step in this audit? Are you going to follow up with the fire department to make sure that they follow through?
That's exactly our regular process with our audits. So in some period of time, usually between 6 months and a year, we will go back and we'll kind of check on the status of any corrective actions.
All right, Deborah, appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you so much.